understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to do something first. You need to believe in the impossible. Can you do that?
What do you desire that you can't have?
When I eat a brain, I get visions.
Don't ever come back to Gotham.
You have failed this city.
Jesus, what kind of a preacher are you?
There's about a dozen ways that I could stop you right now. But I don't think I have to.
Because where I'm from, your grandson becomes the greatest hero in the universe.
Now you should at least give a brother a moment to say something heroically clever.
In the future, my friends may not be heroes, but if we succeed, they will be remembered as legends.
Welcome to the DC TV report for the week ending Saturday, July 21st, 2018. I'm Edward O'Hare, nickname to be determined.
And I'm Sara, academic by day, freelance writer by night.
We're here to bring you recaps, news, and commentary for all live-action television shows based on DC Comics.
And we have one new episode for you this week, one retro pick this week, and that's all you get in this installment.
Yes. So Comic-Con is going on as we're recording this, and there's oodles of news just going out. We have new TV shows. There's new stuff going on.
We have some long-awaited announcements that have come through.
Yes, yeah, we finally got the lowdown on DC Universe. There's a Joker movie on the way, although that's not really TV, but yeah. So rather than just give you the stuff that's come out by Friday night, we're gonna wait it out over the weekend and record another little San Diego Comic-Con coverage on Sunday. Just to let the news drip in, that way we can give you everything all at once, all the big stuff that happened this week and at San Diego Comic-Con, and that's probably going to show up in your feeds I'm guessing Monday or Tuesday.
So you get double the pleasure, double the fun. 2 Ed and Sara updates this week, 1 for the episodes, 1 for the news.
Yes, yeah, so we're going to have our Preacher and our retro pick today. And but thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoy what's going on. And also if you're liking what you're hearing, or even if you're not, share us with your friends. Subscribe, please do that. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcast, the Google Podcast app, I've been hearing a lot about that lately. Stitcher, whatever, rate and review us, because that's what helps other people find us. I've been trying to put that at the top of the show, and we're available a bunch of different places too.
I will say we are newly on Spotify, and I was at first quizzical and skeptical because as an old, I fear change. But I checked out the Spotify podcast stable, and it's nice. That's a nice platform they have. I'm kind of liking the Spotify experience for podcasts. So, if you're not happy with your podcast app of choice, maybe check us out on Spotify.
Yeah. Definitely. So, you want to you ready to jump into Preacher, Sara? You ready to go in?
I was born ready. I'm
All
sorry.
Right. So let's do this. Preacher, Season 3, Episode 4, The Tombs. Back in the day, Jesse was a less than stellar boyfriend to Sabina Boyd while he was settling into his role as MC of The Tombs. In the present, Jesse tried to help Cassidy escape Angelville and avoid a lifetime fighting soulless degenerates. Tulip kidnapped Madam Boyd and learned about her past with Jesse while driving around on the run from the Boyd boys. Last minute reveal, after Satan felt the Saint of Killers had been whipped enough for escaping to the surface, the old gunslinger was sent on a mission to the surface to bring back 2 people who escaped from hell.
All right. This has been an incredibly fun season of Preacher.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. A lot going on. I feel like last 2 seasons are kind of slow rolling out. Even though we're still in one place, I feel like there's a lot happening, and there's so much character development that's happening in every episode.
Oh, I think that the richness of the characters, Tulip this season, and I think even especially in this episode, just exploded off the screen for me. Her motivations, her decisions, her actions. I don't even care that she shot through the floor in a circle like a cartoon character to escape, and it worked. I freaking loved every minute of it. Tulip this week was so fantastic with the reactions, the nonverbals, the verbals, the action, the decision making, all of it. Oh, so good.
Yeah, she's not screaming as much as she did in the first 2 seasons.
You know, and maybe that is a shorter way to say what I just said. She yells less.
But she thinks through, like you could see that there's a decision process going on. And like I really like the dynamic that's going on with her and Jesse, but also like I feel like she knows that Cassidy loves her. And she pretty much straight up admitted, like, I don't have those feelings for you. Which is gonna be interesting to see how Cassidy reacts to that now.
Well, and Cass is another one who has motivation, conflict, goals, decisions, all of which we're seeing play out, and he is, you know, to have him not use the love potion to me is the more interesting choice for that character. Plus, you have this unused love potion that's just hanging out there, so surely that's going to come back into play. But the watching his decision making, watching Tulip's decision making, how those two bounce off each other, Tulip choosing to come back to Jesse and explaining why, they're communicating better. They're, you know, Tulip was honest with Cass, honest with Jesse. They're being honest. They're talking. It's everything I've ever wanted in any TV show. I just want honesty and talking.
Yeah. And I think the flashbacks, to really, you get a real sense of how afraid Jesse must have been growing up, just in this really toxic and evil environment. And he, you know, to come out of it the way he did, you know, and the fact that he's back there now, it's no wonder why he's doing everything he can to keep Cassidy and Tulip away from all of that.
And I'm more pleased with how that's playing out. I was a little frustrated a couple episodes ago that he wasn't being quite as honest. I think Tulip's starting to get it. I think Cass is starting to get, you know, I feel like everybody's sort of getting on the same page. Again, honesty and talking. That's what I'm looking for, and I'm super pleased. I will say Jesse's decision to break up with not one, but 2 girls with Get It, Got It Good kind of tells me that those women are dodging a bullet. Like, girl, he used that to break up with you? Oh, it's actually for the best. It's better.
Yeah.
He really said that? Oh, sis, no. But I like the writing on that. You know, I like that he did that to Madam Boyd when she was wee, and that he did it to Tulip, and so we can see that is how Jesse breaks up with someone when he doesn't want to break up with someone. That is his MO. It's there. It's in the writing. It's not hitting us over the head. It's good stuff. Also, Jesse makes quite a dashing, top hat, depraved ringmaster, doesn't he? I mean, he just the slim figure and the preacher suit and the hat. He looks so compellingly sleek and dangerous. This is working for me on a lot of levels: visual, writing, emotion, motivation, all of it.
Okay, quick thing, because it really became evident in this week, in the flashbacks and in the present scenes in the tombs. You know, where he keeps going to the crowd and going, "Are you entertained?"
This is the best PR Gladiator has had in a decade. 2 decades.
The thing that's really weird, I feel like for the last 3 or 4 weeks, whenever I'm around Bill Sweeney, our executive producer, I feel like subconsciously I've been hearing him every now and then go, "Are you entertained?" And I'm trying to figure out, is he referencing the books? Or is this something new that they just took that just happened to be Gladiator, and Bill just happened to coincidentally have that on his brain?
Gladiator wasn't even a twinkle in the eye of whoever did Gladiator when these books were published. So Bill is just clairvoyant, or else super, super loves Gladiator in a way that I find kind of disturbing.
But like, is that line in the books where he goes to the crowd and goes, "Are you entertained?"
Not that I recall. Not that I recall. Bill might be a better Bill, who hosts Preacher versus Preacher, the podcast that compares the book to the TV show. He's a better choice for that. I think he's probably read the books more than I have. But no, I don't remember that. I mean, the tombs aren't a thing in the books, so Jesse wouldn't have had the same opportunity to do that. So. Oh,
okay.
Oh yeah, God, no, the tombs are totally for the show.
Oh.
And actually, that's one of my notes. We are not a comparison podcast with the books, but I have read them and Ed has not. And I will say, Angelville in the books, to me, always felt a little lacking in goals. Like, I didn't get what it was there and what they were doing and what they were in it for. They were just this evil, malevolent, weirdly religious presence in the swamp, basically. And this, the tombs and the voodoo spells or whatever magic she's using, all of it just gives it a little bit more purpose and clarity of direction that I am really appreciating. And the tombs are just fun to watch I mean, that makes me sound kind of damaged, but they're fun to watch.
Definitely. Now, a couple scenes I want to cover. Mainly the one that's sticking out is when Jesse sneaks Cassidy into the bodega and tries to ship him back to New Orleans. Did he chop him up beforehand, or was it?
I had that question. Did he like sneak him in a backpack? Did he? I feel like that was a scene that had to have been either cut for time or cut for budget.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry we missed it. And did Cassidy complain the whole time? I mean,
because you got to think that's got to hurt. He's still got to feel that pain. And also, I'm really glad they didn't show him putting himself back together and crawling out of that box. But oh man, I'm glad they didn't show it, because it could not have come anywhere near as horrifying as that is in my mind. In my imagination. And
okay, but let's really quickly pick the song they would have used for the ironic montage if they had shown it. I'm thinking I Fall to Pieces could have been a good choice.
I don't know music well enough to throw out these puns. But also, what are you shipping that when you walk in and you see the box and the trail of blood that you just go, I said no liquids?
Forget it, Jake. It's Angelville. Like, to me, that just tells you how fucked up that town is. That minimum wage employee is just like, I have to get the mop now, instead of I need to call the feds. What?
Yeah. That scene was great. That scene was great.
Mm-hmm.
And the bookends of this episode.
Okay, let's talk about. Oh, wait! Before we move on to Hell, two quick things about Jesse and all that. One is that we get the lighter. If you read the book, we get that "fuck communism" lighter, and that was a great Easter egg. Super exciting. So if you saw it and if you screeched and paused and went back in slow mode and all that, you're not alone. I did it too. Two, I enjoyed Jesse white fanging his ladies, like, get out of here. Go on, get. That was, I just enjoyed all of that, and that not working and Tulip making that correct choice to come back. And it gave us, I think, the show's attempt to give us that epic kiss. Again, this is a book thing, but we have an epic Jesse Tulip kiss at the end of this Angelville arc that is incredible, and I think one of the most indelible images of the show. And to me, they didn't get the details right. I don't want to give too much. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it, who might. I think that it was even set up in a way that sort of mimicked their positions. And so I think they tried to give that. And I feel like it was for me personally, because that's the number one thing I was looking forward to when this show was announced 3 years ago. So thank you, Preacher. It was close. You tried. So thank you. Okay, let's go to Hell.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, is there anything you wanted to say about Tulip and Madam Boyd driving around town?
Oh, That was great. Layering, as always. I love what this show does with the captions, not the captions, but the title cards. Worst boyfriend I ever had, or whatever it was. I liked hearing about Madam Boyd. I liked the way she revealed that story. Jessie killing her brother is dark, man. Yeah. So no, that was a good way to introduce us to her character and their backstory. I enjoyed the flashbacks. We learned more about Jessie. We learned more about Madam Boyd. Tulip learns more about Jessie. Good stuff. Did you like it?
Yeah. I almost kind of want like a I don't know about a series, but like maybe a mini series about Madam Boyd. Like I want to hang out with her for a while, see what her deal is.
I do webisodes. I do between season webisodes of Madam Boyd.
yeah, I'd be down for that. Why not? That just I like the idea that they have this competition in the area that's like really small and pick up, but is still annoying and is going to be in their hair the whole time, and the fact that there's a romantic entanglement there.
I was going to say the romanticism of Jessie falling for presumably the worst girl in town for him also tells you a lot about Jessie, and also about how ruthless Grandma is. And at this point, Grandma is more spoken about than present, which I think is kind of interesting as well. She's this menacing figure who isn't in much. We just don't see her all that much, but everybody is pants-wettingly terrified of her, and presumably this is the correct response. So
yeah, she's a Mr. Wu character, as Orson Welles used to say. Do you know that analogy?
No, see, I would have gone with the MacGuffin more than that.
Oh, okay.
But is that kind of similar-ish, sort of?
Yeah. Peter Bogdanovich, basically half the time he's with you tells you about how movies have been horrible for the last 40 years. And then he also tells you about, basically he was Orson Welles' best friend and caretaker for the last 15 years of his life.
Okay, to be fair, if you were Orson Welles' best friend and caretaker for the last 15 years of his life, that's the first, you'd lead with that with every conversation. Hi, I'm Ed. Orson Welles was my best friend. How you doing?
Yeah. It's always like, oh, the movies now are terrible. And there was this one time Orson said this thing to me. But one of the stories he talks about, I think he was referring to Orson Welles' part in The Third Man. Mr. Wu is basically it's like a character. You go to the theater, and in the very first scene they talk about, oh well, this is Mr. Wu is coming into town. We need to be very aware of him. This is going to be very dangerous. And then something else happens in the second scene, and they go, "Oh, this is a very interesting development. It'll be interesting to see how Dr. Wu reacts to this." And then they talk about him the whole time. And at the end of the first act, a man walks on stage, takes 3 steps, and someone says, "Oh, Mr. Wu," and he doesn't say a word of dialogue. And then the curtain goes, and intermission, your friend goes to you in the hallway and says, "The actor playing Mr. Wu is amazing." And it seems like Grandma is that kind of part where she's not on screen a lot, but everyone's always talking about her, and everyone's it's kind of like the way everyone else builds her up is almost adding to this legend. And I feel like Khan is like that in Star Trek 2 is almost one of those characters where he's not around the whole time, but everyone's talking about him. And I feel like she's that type of villain. That was a very long-winded way to say that, but
are you talking about Benedict Cumberbatch's character? Benedict Cumberbatch?
No, I'm talking about Ricardo Montalban.
I feel like we're also talking about the Wizard in the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think we're talking about a trope. I'm sorry. I think what we're saying is this is a trope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a well-executed one. Tropes are around for a reason because they work a lot of the time. It's you only really call it a trope when it fails. Or it becomes too.
Well, I think tropes are ridiculously successful, and so you see riffs on them over and over. And the best genre movies, books, TV cleverly riff on tropes. Give me somebody walking onto a spaceship that's been abandoned for mysterious reasons. I'm in heaven. Give me that trope every time.
Yeah.
Incidentally, we just started The Expanse, so that's where that came from. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Have fun with that. I'm sorry. I watched like 4 episodes and I couldn't not fall asleep 20 minutes in. Don't know what it was.
We're enjoying it. We're probably my husband and I are maybe 5 episodes in, so apparently we've beaten you, sir. But people love it so much. I keep, we're going to stick with it. It's good, and I'm hoping it's going to make that leap into dedicated rabbit fandom that I've seen. But that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about Preacher, sort of.
No, and let's talk about hell.
Okay, let's go to hell. How about them abs?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like I see this version of Satan, I immediately want to compare him to Tom Ellis on Lucifer, and just see these two people could learn from each other.
They should hang out. I feel like a happy medium between the two might be optimum Satan.
Yeah, but I do love, like, in the end, he really is just a suit. It's like, listen, I gotta get this stuff done. And, I really don't want to do this, but these are the rules, and I gotta set an example here. So, you mind?
To me, this felt like a very Joss Whedon approach to Satan, to make him so conversational and chatty and kind of a white-collar paper pusher. Well, no collar, because dim abs again. But this was kind of that snarky, irreverent Satan. Once it became apparent that's what was happening, I was like, oh yeah, of course, this is what they're doing. I mean, no way could Satan have been anything else but this on this show. It just made perfect sense to me. Also, here's another music reference, and this is an oldie. I swear, his first lines, I was like, that sounds like the Satan character from Don Henley's song, The Garden of Allah. That's what that took me to. I hope I'm not the only one out there who was like, that reminds me of that song from Don Henley from a decade before Ed was born. You know what? Let's move past this. You say things now.
I think I remember who Don Henley was.
All right. Well, you've made me feel old. Let's keep going.
So yeah. So, we get a little bit of him at the end, and he lets Sydney start whipping the Santa killers. And then at the very end, he's sent off on his mission.
So what did you think about the visual look of hell?
I think I really like, it's funny because it feels very in line with the visuals from the first season, where it's so gaudy. Like I mean, it's so obviously fake that it has to be real. It just, but there's this kind of authenticity to it that I like. I actually thought the visual effects were solid. I thought the fire effects were really good.
Are you at all concerned that they have blown their entire budget for the season on hell?
No.
Okay.
No. No. They're tricky. Well, it's also like, most of this takes place on Earth, and guns are cheap, so.
Boy, you said a mouthful, brother.
you could always throw more blood on there. But yeah, no. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, where else are they gonna go that's like that big of a budget? I mean, this kind of explains why Tulip's Purgatory was basically a black box theater.
There you go.
So they're picking and choosing where they're spending it. So yeah.
How about the Saint of Killers leaving and turning his back? Oof.
Ooh, yeah.
That definitely was a callback to the comics, because you get a very similar whipping and just that flayed. Well, those are his ribs.
Yeah, he's probably gonna want to wear a jacket.
I feel like infection is a very real possibility. Maybe some salve, some rubbing alcohol to kind of dab on that.
Yeah, it's a flesh wound.
Walk it off.
So are we so like we have to be getting Hitler and Eugene next week, right? Like,
if not next week, the week after, I would think. I cannot imagine them punting this storyline for more than that.
I mean, we're next week is the halfway point. Like, we're 4 episodes in.
This makes me sad.
Yeah, it's going by fast, and it's a good season. Like, these are good episodes. So yeah. So that's Preacher.
So yeah, if you have thoughts about this season of Preacher, do you like it the way we do? Do you hate it and want to tell us why we're wrong? You can email us.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know what you think. So yeah, usually we would do news now, but we're not going to do that.
We're going to save it.
Yep. Ready to jump into the retro pick?
Absolutely.
All right. So, Batman, the animated series. Episode aired September 18th, 1992. POV. Detective Bullock and officers Montoya and Wilkes found themselves under fire, arguing about the facts of a botched mob sting. After being suspended, Montoya couldn't help trying to track down the gangsters and figure out what they did with Batman. Last-minute reveal, Gordon gave everyone their badges back, and Montoya shared her collar with Bullock and Wilkes.
I gotta love an unreliable narrator.
Yeah. I mean, this is the classic Rashomon take on things where we get, but what I thought was interesting about this is you hear what everyone's point of view is, but the truth that you see in the flashbacks is pretty much the truth. I mean, Batman is very different, but as Bullock's trying to say, like, oh, he followed in Batman, you see, no, Batman followed Bullock in.
Yeah, I will say, I joke about unreliable narrator. They're not unreliable. The visuals show us what happened. So we have a liar being contradicted for the audience on screen. Still a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, Harvey Bullock, kind of a dick.
You don't say.
I mean, I don't want to shock anybody with my blue language, but he's kind of a so-and-so, That Harvey Bullock. I just don't know about him.
Yeah. And, so we got Wilkes, who's a character who's kind of gotten lost into the sands of Batman time.
Poor Wilkes.
Although he was voiced by Robbie Benson, who also was the voice of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
Oh.
And pretty much not much else that I could see of note.
Listen, he was the voice of Beast from Beauty and the Beast. He gets to retire on that. I was the Beast.
Yeah.
You can't take that from me.
Yeah, and Renee Montoya, who I feel like I've been talking about a while, saying, like, this is an important character, and this episode finally showed, like, oh, this is why she's an important character.
So, when she came on to Gotham, I remember, I mean, you talked about it, didn't you? That was this past year that she was introduced on Gotham?
No, she was on season 1. She was the internal affairs cop who was sleeping with Babs in season 1.
Okay. I thought I got her confused with the newish lady cop or the.
Oh, you're thinking of Harper. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Yeah. That's just someone else who they threw in because they already wasted Montoya on someone else.
Okay, maybe that's where I got confused because that new character Harper felt a little more like the Montoya I saw here, so I kind of assumed that's who that was.
Yeah, and the difference between Montoya, whereas like Bullock is a detective, Montoya is a beat cop, and they don't mention it here. She is like Harley Quinn, one of the characters who was created on the TV show and ended up going to comics where they fleshed out her character a lot more.
Oh, I read a little bit about that just in a wiki, and it sounds fascinating what they did with her character.
Oh yeah. I mean, you find out that she's a lesbian. She has a long relationship with Batwoman, who we're going to be talking about in the news episode, and eventually ends up taking on the mantle of the Question. You can read that in 52. In
Which
that max.
You encouraged me to read, and I still have not out of willfulness, just out of time.
Yes. Oh no, I understand.
One of the things that I thought was interesting that I read about her character, and tell me if I have this right, is her original backstory as it was conceived was that she's a widow and her husband was a cop who was killed by crime. And so she and Batman sort of share that thirst for justice and vengeance, but that backstory got dropped and wasn't actually explicitly mentioned in any of her appearances. So you have this sort of hidden motivation that you don't really get to, but it does explain, I think, how some of the early people interpreted that character as they were writing for her. Have you heard about this?
I have not. That's very interesting. But it makes sense, especially like you could see that they're setting her up in this. And I feel like this is the best example of Montoya, of like what her character could be. Mm-hmm. I don't feel I'm struggling to think of any other episode where she's featured in the animated series, at least as much as she's featured here.
And she was fabulous. So I felt like you have Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear in this. Papa Bear is Harvey, like Batman is terrible. He ruined everything. And then you have Wilkes, like Batman is magic. How does Batman do that magic? And then you have Montoya, who's like, Batman can help me do this job. I really liked the different lenses that Batman is viewed through in those three different storytelling approaches in this episode.
Yeah, and I feel like that's always the way that Gordon has viewed Batman, whereas like, yeah, he's a vigilante, but like he gets things done, and working with him has proved much more fruitful than Gordon than trying to hunt him down.
And God bless Gordon for sticking up for his cops. I felt like he was the one saying, let them talk, let them tell their story. I'm not going to just push them out. Let them, I want to hear what they have to say. So I enjoyed seeing his quiet defense of his people. Also.
Yeah. Definitely. And, so much to like in this episode. What did you think of, it's funny, the villains in this were not really defined. It was just some gang with a driller voiced by Ron Perlman.
Oh, I didn't even notice the Ron. Now he's done other voices, yeah? So he must have been a recurring player for them. Yeah,
he voiced Clayface in
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just so you know, there were no other big the voices you had in here, the guest stars at least. You had Robbie Benson as Wilkes, John Considine as Hackle, Ingrid Oliu as Montoya, and Marcelo Toubert did a bunch of the gangster voices, including Scarface. This is really just straightforward. Like, this isn't really about the villains. It's like, although the fact that Batman gets trapped and they're able to pull him out of that fire.
Yeah.
It's weird. You string him up, you take his utility belt away, but let's leave the mask on.
I didn't even think about that. The first thing, maybe I'm just a nosy Parker. The first thing I would do, take it off. I gotta see.
Well, the other thing is you realize that he's just biding his time. He could have escaped any time that he wanted. And I think if you went for the mask, then it would be like, that scene from the first Michael Keaton Batman movie where you just, all right, now I got to take everybody out.
We're done with this.
Yeah.
Hey, Ed, have we ever talked about our favorite movie Batmans? I mean, this is not the week for this, but you mentioned Michael Keaton. I just, we've never discussed that, have we?
No, I don't think we've gone in detail about it.
Maybe some week. I don't know. I'm not saying we have to do it tonight.
Maybe. Yeah. I will say the 80s and 90s Batman movies, they're a tough rewatch.
Oh no, I've never tried. The scene where the Joker gasses that restaurant remains one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen in my memory. Maybe it wouldn't hold up as well now.
Well, like Nicholson is good. It's actually more like when he pulls out that gun with the 12-foot barrel at the end.
Okay, fine.
and is actually able to shoot down the Batwing. Yeah, what's funny is like you think like, oh, this is the studio version. It's not as much of a Tim Burton movie, and then like the little cracks that Burton is able to sneak through in there is like, oh, that's where he is. And then Batman Returns is just straight up a Tim Burton movie with Batman in it. Curly cues everywhere, and then the Schumacher ones. We won't get into that. Not now. That's for another day.
Do we need a lot of time for that?
Yes. So POV. What you think of this episode? How would you rank this? How does this hold up so far?
I liked the way it played with the actual like physical linear storytelling, the way it chopped it up. It's probably, as you said, the villain was kind of forgettable. This was more about the cops than anything else. And I think I sort of like the ones that have the big, interesting villains. But I loved meeting Montoya. That was really great. So for me, not my favorite. I don't want to say it's my least favorite. I like all of these, but yeah. I guess I kind of like the big theatrical villains.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the thing with this episode I find interesting is like, okay, also it's shorter form. We got 22 minutes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they really like they go in and it's like, okay, we've got this one story. We're just going to show this aspect of Batman's life. And, you know, it's okay. This week, it's all about the cops. Another week.
And they told a lot of story in this episode with 22 minutes. They told 3 different POVs and then we get kind of the Batman rescue. It's impressive what they do with the time that they have.
Yeah. Whereas like the first few episodes we had, they were all like, okay, this is a villain's origin. We're going to show the tragedy of this villain. And I feel like last week we kind of got a different thing going on where it's like, okay, you know, this is Crime Alley. We're going to see, you know, the poor and destitute of Gotham and you know, we get to meet Lee Tompkins. And in this one, we get to meet Montoya and we kind of see what the GCPD is like, you know, when Batman's not around. The kind of stuff that they have to deal with. And this Gotham Central, which is a series from I guess about 10 years ago, that was Ed Brubaker and was it Greg Rucka, I think. A lot of people feel that like Gotham Central was the inspiration for the Gotham TV show, but it really had this type of vibe where it's like, this is what Gotham is like from the cop's perspective, and Batman is a background character in that.
Huh,
Sarah?
Yeah, no. I was just processing. Sorry, you caught me in a thought. Huh. Okay, go on, sir. Go on.
Yeah,
that's what that
was. So yeah. If you like this, maybe check out the Gotham Central comic books.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So you ready? You ready to know what we're gonna watch next week?
Yes.
Okay. This is a big one. It's a 2-parter. Mm-hmm. It's if you're watching on Amazon Prime, it's Volume 1, episodes 10 and 11. So 110 and 111. The titles are Two-Face, Part 1 and Part 2.
Ooh, okay, I got to guess about this one.
So we're going to see Two-Face.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm not going to say anything else. Not going to say anything else. All right. On to our winners for the week.
All right. I honestly have forgotten if you went first or if I went first last week, and I guess it doesn't really matter.
No, well, I'll go first.
Okay.
So my winner for this week is that skin suit that Cassidy wore.
That was my runner-up, and I was sad I didn't talk about it, so I'm glad you are.
And you think like, is that the pedophile science teacher? Like, what is he doing out of the tombs? What's going on? And like, he actually says a line or two, and then you realize like, oh no, that thing Cassidy was talking about, just put his skin over my face and it'll be fine. Like, oh yeah, no, it would actually be fine.
I actually felt a little bad for that pedophile science teacher for a second. Then I remembered, oh right, he's a creepy pedophile science teacher. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great moment, and it's such a thing that's like, oh, that's such a comic book thing that you read on the page, like, this makes perfect sense, but it would not work in real life, and then you see it in real life, and it's like, oh my god, it just tickled me pink. Sarah, who was your winner for this week?
All right, my winner is women you would want on your side in a firefight. And this works for Tulip, who, as we talked about in the Preacher section, is so fantastic this season because she's toned down the shouting and the reactionary responses and has toned up the thoughtful, strategic, but also super, super good with weapons approaches to problem solving. But also it works, and I know we don't always include the retro pick, but you know what? Officer Montoya, I would go into battle with her any day. So I think we have competent women who are smart, thoughtful, and approach problems with the appropriate level of force, intuition, and tactical skill that they need. So women you would want on your side in a firefight are my winner of the week.
I second that motion. All right. And so that's the DC TV report for this week.
That's part 1 of the DC TV report for this week.
Yes. Don't, be on the lookout for our special San Diego Comic-Con 2018 Extravaganza Palooza long title that Bill is going to make us pare down in the pod data.
Never. He will take my long title over my dead body.
All right. You could find us on Twitter. I'm at Edward O'Hare TBD.
I'm at Sara Netzley, SaraNetzley.
And follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report. Send along your emails to dctv@wickedtheory.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice and check out our sister shows, the Wicked Theory Podcast and Preacher vs. Preacher. This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer Bill Sweeney. Visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam.
Shazam.